Commissioner Gaynor is absent. Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Gorman? Commissioner Goslin is absent. Commissioner Moore? Commissioner Murphy? Commissioner Reyes? Commissioner Reyes is absent. Commissioner Snyder? Commissioner Silvestri? Commissioner Sims? Commissioner Sims is absent. Commissioner Steele? Commissioner Steele is absent. Commissioner Sufferton? Commissioner Tobolsky? Commissioner Tobolsky is absent. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, and good morning. Good morning. Commissioner Garcia will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please read the call of the meeting into the record?
Good morning. Madam President, members of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, Cook County elected officials, department heads, and financial officers. Ladies and gentlemen, Toni Preckwinkle, President of the Board of Commissioners of Cook County, has directed me to call a special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Cook County on Thursday, October 10th at the hour of 11 a.m. in the Cook County Boardroom meeting of 569, Cook County Building 118, North Clark, Chicago, Illinois. At said meeting, the executive budget for fiscal year 2014 will be presented to the Cook County Board of Commissioners. In addition to the executive budget recommendation, the committee report of the October 11, 2013 Legislation and Intergovernment Relations Committee will be considered.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, are there any public speakers?
We have one public speaker, Madam Chair. Madam President, George Blakemore.
Good morning to the citizens of Cook County, to the President of Cook County Board, to the elected officials, and to the bureaucrats who are here. Reading this agenda, it says a recommendation of the budget for Cook County. Millions and millions and millions of dollars will be spent to deliver goods, services, contracts, and jobs. This is the President's recommendation. I'm encouraging the citizens to attend all of these budget hearings and to be heard and to recommend what you think the money should be spent for, because it's your money. It's not the elected officials' money. It's not the president of the board's money, but it's the citizens of Cook County. This is our budget. And to only have one person to come up and speak, is something wrong here. Did you inform the public about this meeting? It's very important that the citizens participate in government on every level.
1 minute.
So I have been heard, and I've been seen, and I'm sure the ancestors will appreciate me. The county has financial problems. The black community have financial problems. We need to participate in these budget hearings.
30 seconds.
Do not leave it up to your elected officials. When you vote for them, You must come down and make sure they're accountable. And your voice must be heard. It's power in the spoken word. And may God bless each one of you. And in return, may you bless someone else.
Madam President, that concludes our public speakers.
Thank you. Commissioner Sufferton, item 13, 1893, the Legislation Committee report of October 10th, 2013.
I move approval of it. This contains the unanimous approval of the appointment of Romaine C. Brown to the Metro Board.
It's been moved by Commissioner Sufferton and seconded by Commissioner Sims that the report of the Legislation and Intergovernmental Relations Committee report of the meeting earlier today be approved. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm here today to present my fiscal year 2014 budget to the Cook County Board of Commissioners. I want to thank Ivan. Where's Ivan? Ivan Samstein, our Chief Financial Officer, Andrea Gibson, and all of her budget team for their good work over the last year, especially the last few months. I'm grateful. And of course, I'm grateful to Jesse for working so hard on my budget address. When I gave my first budget address 3 years ago, I'd been in office for a grand total of 57 days. No one can prepare you to walk in the door in the first quarter of the fiscal year, no less, and be immediately presented with a $500 million deficit and no plan to solve it. In fact, no one did prepare us. Probably the best way to describe it is to find yourself on a large boat in the middle of the ocean with a very big leak, and the only way to get through it is by working quickly, effectively, and together. Today we're not talking about staying afloat. We're not looking for life vests. We're charting a new course. This year, thank God, we started out with a deficit of $152 million, which is $335 million less than the one I faced when I first came into office. And this year's deficit is largely due to the final impact of the sales tax rollback and increased expenses, including mandated public safety hiring. A quick note on the increased expenses. This includes about $10 million in costs associated with Raise the Age legislation that goes into effect January 1st. I supported this legislation quite simply because it's the right thing to do, and I will bear those costs gladly. What it means is that 17-year-olds will be served in our juvenile justice system rather than our adult courts, and I'm grateful. After 3 years of tough budgets and difficult choices, today I can present a budget without any new taxes, new fees, or new fines. Thank you, Commissioner Silvestri. I'll count on you to lead the applause going forward. We've worked hard and we've lived within our means. We've kept our promises. My first campaign promise was to eliminate the 1% sales tax increase enacted under my predecessor. Having the highest sales taxes in the country was detrimental to our working families and to our businesses. But I knew that just because it was the right thing to do, it wouldn't necessarily be easy. It meant losing a valuable source of revenue in tough economic times. But we kept our promise, and as a result, we saved county residents $1.1 billion. All of this is a powerful indication of how hard we've worked and how far we've come in just 3 years. 3 years ago, I asked you to join me in accepting responsibility for our county. I spoke to you about the challenges we faced and our commitment to take them on. And in that time, we've cut $430 million in expenditures. We've passed 3 budgets and reformed how we engage each other and the public in this process. We've demanded more accountability from our operations and our employees. We developed a robust policy agenda focusing on critical criminal justice reform, working to strengthen our healthcare system, and increasing the breadth and depth of our economic development efforts. The budget I present today is the product of 3 years of work that we've done together. It's a budget that shows our commitment to building county government that our residents deserve. This isn't to say that the year was without challenges. Our 4 tenets remain: fiscal responsibility, innovative leadership, transparency and accountability, and improved services, with fiscal responsibility still firmly on top. Government can't continue to turn to residents and say, if only we had more money, more money, more money. At some point, we have to do better with the resources we have. We've thought about how to bring revenues and resources to the county. We've increased revenue by investing in our enforcement and audit efforts. For example, within the Department of Revenue, we've added 19 additional inspectors and auditors since taking office. As a result, we've nearly tripled the number of cigarette tax inspections and nearly doubled the number of confiscations. Next year, we look to bring in $134 million in cigarette tax revenues alone. In short, rather than propose new taxes, we are fully enforcing and collecting on the taxes already in place. As a result, our revenues are estimated to increase $16.5 million, largely due to increased enforcement efforts. We've also worked hard to secure more federal resources. This year, grant funding went up 21%, including grant funding for the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and funding for our Land Bank Authority created earlier this year. We've continued to work to close loopholes and unfair exemptions. Most notably, this year I have proposed that we end the practice that allows employees and officials who work less than full-time to pick up the full share of their health benefits from the county. Currently, there are about 400 employees taking advantage of this policy. The majority of these employees are judges who receive their salary from the state of Illinois but secure discounted benefits based on the $500 stipend they receive annually from the county. There is absolutely no reason at all, that a clerk in the courtroom making $50,000 a year should pay 100 times more for health benefits than the judge he or she works for. 100 times more. This is about what's fair for Cook County workers and taxpayers. Now, my budget director, Andrea Gibson, would argue that a reasonable budget depends on more than just good ideas. It must start with a responsible budget process. So 4 months after that initial February 2011 3 a.m. budget vote, which I'm sure you all remember, I issued an executive order to ensure that it would never happen again. We laid out the steps and requirements for a budget process that would be transparent and accountable to our legislative body, to our other countywide elected officials, and most importantly, to our residents. We put the responsibility on ourselves to release a preliminary budget each year by June 30th. It's at that point that county elected officials and departments review their budgets and submit requests for next year's appropriation. Historically, these requests have been prepared in isolation. An agency submitting requests with little, if any, input and conversation with the President's office, and the President's office doing little to understand the requests. But a $3 billion budget shouldn't be treated as a backroom barter. Conversation shouldn't be focused on hedging your bets and playing the odds, but coming together to discuss shared priorities, critical operations, and creative solutions. And it is with this understanding that everybody is coming to the table with more informed, more realistic requests backed with sound analysis and justification. As a result, we've seen additional requests from elected officials decrease significantly, from $155 million 2 years ago to $42 million this year. And I'd like to give a shout out to Treasurer Pappas, who took this even further and reduced her reliance on the general fund budget by over $2 million by reducing her headcount and maximizing the use of other resources. Every year I talk about the critical role that performance management plays in our budget process. Obviously, this year is no exception. Our performance management initiative has continued to expand and evolve. This is due in no small part to our Chief Performance Officer, Andy Schwarm, whose commitment and dedication has driven this effort from the beginning. But as he himself would say, he can't do it alone. Neither can I. The success of this initiative is dependent on having all our leadership invested and engaged. This isn't just my initiative, it's our shared commitment. From the beginning, we worked with our senior leadership to set tough, county-wide goals by which we would hold ourselves accountable. And together, we've shaped a new kind of government, a government that's more effective, more efficient, that asks, how can we do better? Performance management allows us to not only better understand and work with separately elected officials, but to assess and evaluate our own operations. For a long time, for too long, the county didn't know how significant parts of its operation actually worked. By bringing everyone together, we've been able to change and improve government operations. For example, it's through performance management that we've reduced the time it takes to pay vendors and decreased the wait times in our general medicine clinic, in our healthcare system. And it's by holding ourselves more accountable that we've become better partners. For decades, the city and the county shared a building, but rarely shared ideas or resources. Shortly after both Mayor Manuel and I took office, we sat down and decided to work together. We appointed an 8-person task force, and in June 2011, they issued a report outlining recommendations for areas of collaboration. We were committed to this being a real collaboration, not just a paper document. And it's because of this commitment that we have, to date, over $70 million in savings and additional revenue. For example, both governments collect cigarette taxes. Now both city and county inspectors issue citations on each other's behalf when they are in the field, resulting in more than $13.9 million in increased revenue collections. This partnership has become part of our day-to-day operations, including sharing equipment, buying goods, and applying for grants. We've made good progress in getting our financial house in order, but we need to do more. We have to utilize our capital funds to make strategic investments in the long-term health of our county. And that is why today I'm proposing over $40 million in technology investments across the county. Now, as most of you know, this is not an area in which I would call myself an expert. I don't have a computer on my desk, actually. But even I knew when I first came to the county that we were technologically challenged. Our technology infrastructure was woefully outdated, and rather than invest in updating it, we were spending a considerable amount of money just to keep it running. Departments and agencies that worked together were operating on separate systems. Too many operations remained paper-based, cumbersome, and time-consuming. So over the last few years, we've worked together to change that. We started by recruiting smart and talented people to get the job done. We brought in people from the private and public sectors to innovate and apply the best technology to help us make county operations run better. And we've done it by focusing on 2 key areas. First, we've identified new ways to reduce waste and save taxpayers money. For example, just by recalling unused pagers and fax machines, we've saved over $200,000 a year. But to be clear, this isn't just about finding savings. It's about thinking strategically about how we invest our resources. We've partnered with the city to jointly host our email. In turn, we've saved more than $250,000, $250,000. By connecting the Cook County Hospital to the county's broadband internet network last year, we not only delivered new internet connections that were 10 times faster than before, we were also able to cut a contract with an outside vendor that will save the county $500,000 over the next 10 years, $500,000. This year we will make an identical broadband investment in the county's facilities at 26th and California, our courthouse and the jail, and we will see a similar increase in internet speed and reduction in the county's budget going forward. Taxpayers deserve the biggest bang for their buck, especially at a time when everybody is being asked to do more with less. Second, we evaluated our outdated systems and invested in modernizing and streamlining our operations. Just as any physical asset, such as a bridge or road, requires regular maintenance, so does our technology infrastructure. We're rebuilding the county's outdated financial system. This is the system that tracks every check we cut. It tracks all of our staff and the benefits our employees receive. To get the idea of the scope of this task, consider this. The county has 23,000 employees and spent $1.1 billion on goods and services last year. The risk of this system failing are huge. At the same time, we're investing in developing a county-wide automated time and attendance system in order to hold our employees accountable for putting in a day's work for a day's pay. Next year, there will also be significant improvements in the transparency, efficiency, and accessibility of our property tax system. I'm grateful to the property tax stakeholders, the Assessor Joe Barrios, the Board of Review members, Larry Rogers, Michael Cabinargi, and Dan Patlak, County Clerk David Orr, Recorder Karen Yarborough, and Maria Pappas, our Treasurer, all of whom came together to ensure that tax bills would be mailed out on time for the first time in 30 years. We've already done it twice. You can applaud now, Pete. This is even more impressive given the age and state of the property tax system and the offices used to produce the bills. It's time to be responsible and accountable. And it's because I'm committed to mailing property tax bills out on time every year, we're making an investment in 2014 to procure a new system for our property tax folks. And finally, I've spoken at great length over the last 3 years about my commitment to improving the operation of our criminal justice system. We know that means that all of our stakeholders must be able to communicate and collaborate effectively. However, we're faced with a number of challenges: inconsistent data collection, outdated data storage systems, and the failure of most of the individual systems to communicate with each other. That's why this year we're investing in a $1.5 million data sharing tool that will allow our public safety stakeholders to access and share information. It makes sense for us to be able to redesign our government so that it can deliver on the functions that our residents are looking for. We should all want a government that's smarter, quicker, and more responsive. Now, the good news is that county government is full of talented, dedicated public servants who are working hard every day. But this strategy cannot work unless we invest in our employees, unless we give them training and the skills to ensure we all succeed. That's why this year I'm doubling the funding for training and professional development within the Bureau of Technology. But above all, this budget is a reflection of our commitment to our healthcare system. At the time of the last budget, I spoke of our hard work in securing an 1115 waiver from the federal government, granting us the ability to early enroll patients who are eligible for health care under the Affordable Care Act. If you look at the history of this country, you will see that over the last century, many presidents tried to reform health care. Roosevelt, Truman, Nixon, Carter, Clinton. Every time, special interests and naysayers were powerful enough to defeat them. Obviously, the Affordable Care Act has experienced its share of challenges. The House Republicans have voted 42 times to repeal or undermine ACA. But where others tried and failed, President Obama has succeeded. The ACA has had a huge impact on Cook County. We have a health care system that proudly takes anyone who comes to our doors, regardless of their insurance, their income, or their immigration status. What this means is that we spend roughly $500 million, $500 million, every year in uncompensated care or charity care. Last year, we set a goal to initiate 115,000 applications for county care, our Medicaid expansion program, by the end of the year. I'm proud to say that we're well on our way to exceeding that goal. To date, we've already initiated 110,000 applications, and we have another 2.5 months to go. You can applaud too. Commissioner Garcia, I'll have to look to you more often for applause. Thank you. And all of this has a huge impact on the financial health of our system. Medicaid expansion will help pay for $278 million of the uncompensated care we provide. More than half of the uncompensated care we provide. This revenue, in turn, is helping the healthcare system become more financially sustainable. This year, 64% of our deficit was solved by healthcare system payment reimbursements. And in turn, the healthcare system has continued to be less and less reliant on the county subsidy. This year, the subsidy is less than half of what it was 3 years ago. As Dr. Raju would say, our task is to shape a system of health care, not sick care, centered on the patient, not the doctor. We are building a system focused on preventive care, on primary care, to ensure our patients, many for the first time, with a primary care doctor responsible for their wellness. Dr. Raju grounds his plan on the provision of a medical home. That's the perfect term, because we provide more than health care. We provide the dignity that comes with knowing you are entitled to that care. And today, thousands of individuals throughout the county have access to health care. The middle-aged woman with a family history of breast cancer who was able to relax after her mammogram through county care was negative. The 24-year-old unemployed college graduate who cut his finger, landed in the emergency room, and after routine lab work was diagnosed with diabetes. Because of county care, he's now seeing a primary care doctor at a federally qualified health center in his neighborhood and is able to pick up his meds at a local pharmacy. A woman who, after years of walking around in extreme pain, enrolled in county care and is now receiving a hip replacement. These are real stories, and there are countless more throughout the county. That's why we work so hard to get the waiver, why we work so hard to sign up people for county care, why we remain committed to the sustainability of our healthcare system. In conclusion, I will say that I've always believed that government has two obligations: to provide good service and to do that as effectively and efficiently as possible. Each year we reevaluate what that means, setting higher goals, demanding more from ourselves. We should all take pride in how far we've come. We've moved from measuring ourselves against the past to setting goals for our future. We've forged an identity. We are a Cook County that works for the most vulnerable among us. We sought to be one of the few to early enroll patients under the Affordable Care Act. That is what our healthcare system and, more importantly, our residents needed. We continue to work to ensure fairness and equity for all those who come in contact with our criminal justice system. We're committed to serving all of our residents effectively and as efficiently as possible. We've created and invested in new tools to ensure that we hold ourselves accountable to our residents. The plan presented today is not only a balanced budget, it is an investment in the long-term health and stability of our government. Thank you all for your help and support. Thank you.
Madam President.
Chairman Daley.
Madam President, pursuant to the statutes of the State of Illinois, Chapter 55, Article 6, I move that Item 13, 1890, the 2014 Executive Budget for Cook County as submitted by the Office of the President, be referred to the Committee on Finance.
It's been moved by Chairman Daley and seconded by Commissioner Murphy that this matter be referred to the Committee on Finance. Is there any discussion? It's been moved by Commissioner Daley and seconded by Commissioner Murphy that Item 1890, the 2014 Executive Budget for Cook County, as submitted by the Office of the President, be referred to the Committee on Finance. All right, hearing no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The motion carries.
Move to adjourn, Madam President.
It's been moved by Chairman Daley and seconded by Commissioner Silvestri that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, opinion of the chair. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Though, if I, commissioners, we will be having the finance committee, but my understanding is we have to wait a few minutes until they have to switch over to for the cameras. So they'll advise us. What? And it is called for 11:45. So that is the time we'll need you at 11:45, not now. So it will be 11:45. We'll come back into the room.